Welcome back to a brand new video with my recently acquired to me Escort Cosworth, dream car for me. Now on the last couple of videos we've stripped the underside and sorted the rear beam out, had it all powder coated and looking mint. And on this video what we're going to try and get done is the fuel system, and we're going to start with this fuel rail. Now I am in a bit of a rush as I am moving house, so I need to get the car running as soon as possible. So we're going to start by removing these clips that hold the injectors in place, and then this part here of the fuel rail should be a fuel pressure regulator, but someone has added like a bypass or a blanking plate, so we're going to go back to the original setup. So we need to remove this with a set of circlip pliers just to get that circlip on there. Then we'll give it a little squeeze, just like that, it comes out. Then we can take this bonny old thing off like that. Like I say, this should be a fuel pressure regulator, but someone has added this like a bypass valve type thing, so that is going in the bin. We'll then remove all these clips and hoses off it. I think you can see someone's painted this bit red, so I'm going to give that a quick coat with some matte black just to tidy the fuel rail up a bit, so it looks a bit nicer when we put it back on the car. We'll mask all these areas off where the fuel injectors sit, just to keep it nice and clean so we don't get any leaks when we build it back up. Now we're not trying to take the fuel rail back down to bare steel, we're just trying to key it up so the fresh paint will stick to it. But before we do that, I had to remove this touch-up pen which someone had obviously got for Christmas and gone to town on the car. There's a load of it under the engine bay. So I removed the majority of the touch-up pen with a Stanley knife, then rubbed the rest of the fuel rail down with a bit of 800 wet and dry. So let's get this fuel rail all masked up, and to mask this hole, which will be quite complicated, I'm going to use what we took out, which is this blanking plate thing. So I'm just going to drop that in there. We'll let that get covered in paint, but that'll obviously seal that hole. Then we'll mask this bit up where the fuel comes in, or out, I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll mask that up so there's no paint gets in the fuel rail. Then the last bit to mask up is these little injector pots. This is a 4-cylinder car, so there's 4 of these little pots to mask up. So yet again, same process as the other thing, fellas. A bit of masking tape. Then we'll put the bit of masking tape around there, and you can see the way Ford's done it as well. I'm guessing they've done something similar because there's a line around where it isn't painted. So we're going to follow that line. So now it's all masked up, I'm going to give it a quick wipe down with some panel wipe so the paint doesn't react and it gets a good like adhesion, good stickiness. So we'll give it a quite quick wipe down with some blue roll and some panel wipe. Once I cleaned the fuel rail down, I then got some high temp paint, and the reason I went for high temp paint is this fuel rail is kind of buried in the middle of the engine. Right, so here is the fuel pressure regulator all painted. So let's now take all the masking tape off what we put on. Then we should be able to take out this fuel pressure regulator and blank, and it should be all nicely masked up in there. Perfect. Right, so this here is a bit of pipe I've removed from the fuel rail. It carries fuel and it connects onto that little connector there. And you can see it here on an engine what it should look like. It comes up from the fuel pipe that runs under the car along the top of the inlet manifold, and it then hooks up and down onto the fuel rail right next to the dipstick you can see there in yellow. And you can see when Ford's made it, they've put like some plastic pipe inside a bit of rubber tubing. So that's what we're going to do. It's about 2 foot long what we need to do. And to do that job, I've got some new nylon hose. This is proper stuff for fuel. It's what you need for fuel. And I've also got some fuel hose that should fit into there. And that should make it look like what we've taken off. So we need to figure out how to get about 2 foot of this over this plastic pipe. Before we start with any rubber hose, we're going to first start by putting some plastic pipe on the end of this fuel rail. And to do that, we've got a brake pipe flaring kit. Now, you might be wondering why I'm using one of these. The plastic hose I've got is 6mm in diameter. And with this kit, I can clamp a 6mm hose. So, we're going to get the kit out and we're going to put the black hose inside the brake flaring kit and clamp it down. Now follow along. With the nylon hose clamped down, we're then going to feed it through a silicone gun and put the fuel reel in with it. And then with it in place, we're going to gently push the barbed end of the fuel reel onto the nylon hose, and you can see it went on absolutely perfectly. And if we can take it off, that looks exactly as Ford would have done it. So next we need to get this rubber hose on the nylon hose. So let's blast some WD-40 in and a little bit of engine oil, and we'll cover the nylon hose so it's nice and slippy. And with plenty of oil, a load of brute force and a bit of swearing, I've managed to get it in place. Right, now that the hose is on, we're going to clip it in place with these clips what we've taken off the old hose. These are the genuine Ford clips, so that just literally, that's like a circle. It just clips there onto the hose. Then we'll clip it here onto the fuel reel, just like that. Right, then next we've also got from, I think this is Graham Good Racing, yes it is, I can see the receipt there. We've got a brand new fuel pressure regulator for a small turbo, which I've got Escort Cosworth. Look at that, absolutely brand spanking new fuel pressure regulator. So we'll fit this on the fuel reel. Right, so I've also blew this out with the airline so there's no stuff in there, but we'll just fit this new fuel pressure regulator, just pushes into place. Then that's held in place with the original circlip that just goes over there. Now next we've got the injectors that have been cleaned by PGA Motorsport. It cleans out, it changes all the seals and the little baskets and that, all the stuff that have been taken off the current injectors is sent back in a bag so we can see exactly what's been changed. So in here we should have a brand new, or at least a cleaned and floor tested fuel injector. There we go. All new seals, new baskets, new bits on the end. Now I was tempted to paint these, but I've left them because I didn't want to damage them really. It's like £500 for a set of injectors. So I've left them, they've just been cleaned and floor tested. So what we'll do is we'll put a little bit of oil on the seal. There we go, just a little smidge, and we'll wipe it around. Then that injector should just pop into there. Like that. Then we'll put one of these clips on to hold the injector in place. Then there's the injector back on the fuel reel. So we've got another 3 to do. Then we should be able to put the fuel reel on the car. So there is the fuel reel built up. We've got the new fuel pressure regulator, 4 cleaned injectors, the original ones. Like I say, I haven't painted them because I didn't want to damage them. So they are the injectors look a bit tatty, but who on earth is ever going to see me injectors? So let's get this on the car. To get it on the car, we'll move these wires out of the way. These are the injector wires that power the injectors. When I took this off, I put some masking tape on just to see if anything getting in the inlet manifold. So we'll take this masking tape off, like that. Then we'll carefully put our new fuel reel, our reconditioned fuel reel, into place. Right, I've just had my general testosterone levels checked by manual, and it turns out I am slightly low on testosterone. Some of the symptoms of low testosterone include low sex drive, decreased muscle mass, which I'm alright at the minute, low energy, even depression, lack of sleep, and weight gain. Now I'm afraid fellas, once you hit 30, your testosterone levels drop every year. So you're going to get balder, fatter, sadder and limper. Now personally, I want to keep as much hair and as much lead in my pencil as possible. So luckily for us, Manual supply a few safe ways to get your testosterone level back up to where it should be and keep your pencil nice and sharp. Manual are the UK's biggest and most trusted testosterone clinic with world-class expertise and doctors. 90% of the people who've used Manual have reported improved symptoms after just 3 months. So click the link in the description of this video to order your home kit now and check your testosterone levels. Use my code Adam45 and save yourself a massive 45% off your home blood test kit. So with the cleaned injectors now fitted and the new fuel reel bolted in place with a nice new zinc plated bolt, let's move on to another part of the fuel system. Right, so in here we should have a brand new fuel filter. This is from Graham Good Racing. Take it out there. Oh, so we've got a new fuel filter there with electrical connectors and everything we need to fit it on our fuel sender, which is here. Now this was a bit rusty, so I've cleaned it up, but there's no real pressure in the fuel tank, so this should be alright. See, it's all nicely sealed up in this bag so it doesn't get, I don't know, junk all over it. It's full of oil as well. Right, so we need to take this part off the end. We'll keep that copper washer on there, and this should just screw on the end of here. Then we've got some wires we need to connect, so obviously red to red, black to blue. So we'll just tighten that nut up there. See, that's live for the fuel pump. I think I might test this before we'll put it in the fuel tank as well. And we'll spin it round. This is obviously the negative. So just a quick test before we bolt everything up and into place. We're going to quickly knock the ignition on and check the fuel pump's working. And as you can see, it's working perfectly. So that is spot on. So now that we know the fuel pump's working, let's build it back up in the tank. But I've also got a new sealing ring to go on, and that just drops on there to stop any stuff getting in your fuel tank. Then we'll put the new fuel pump in the hole with the bracket on. Like that. Then we've got this new sealing ring to hold it all in place. Then we'll just gently tap it around with a hammer, with a screwdriver. Then we'll just fix the power supply to the fuel pump. Then we'll connect the breather onto the top of the tank, like that. So next we're going to fit the filler neck. This was all full of schultz, so I've cleaned it up and got it looking a lot better than it was. All the pipe looks nice and that now. So we're going to fit it on the tank, but I've also got a new clip to hold it in place. So we'll get the new clip out the bag. But then that just pushes onto there. Like that. Then we'll do this Jubilee clip up with a socket. I don't like using a screwdriver because there's a chance you might knock the end of the screw and it just turns into a mess, doesn't it? So if you use a proper socket, you can tighten it up nice and tight and it doesn't mash up the little hex on the end. So now the fuel tank is ready to go on the car and we've got the fuel rail fitted to the car. We need to connect the two together. Now the original steel fuel lines that run under the Escort were absolutely goosed, so I've bought some brand spanking new ones. These are the same diameter as the original fuel lines, and they're also zinc plated or galvanised so they won't rust, and they're all properly bent in all the right places, so they should literally bolt straight onto the car and go around all the chassis and just fit perfect. Now these did get delivered in the post, so you can see they've been attached to like a fixture so they don't get bent. So we'll just cut all the tape where it's been mounted to the fixture to hold it. And you can see they've got a red and white mark. Now without doing any research, I'm going to guess the red is the high pressure line and the white is the return. So with the new fuel lines under the car with a couple of clips and some screws, they're held securely in place with all genuine Ford fittings. Now unfortunately I've got some bad news. I've took a deposit on the Escort. Literally it's been my dream car, a solid coloured Escort Cosworth with cloth seats. It's got 50,000 miles, it's an ideal car for me. But anyway, I've took a deposit on the car. Now, I've got that fuel rail plumbed up, but the clips I need to get it working are going to take about 2 weeks to arrive. I haven't got 2 weeks, I've got maybe a week to get as much done on the car as possible. So I bought these clips for the fuel line and they're no good. So the lad who's buying it has basically just said, try and get as much done as you can to get it rolling and possibly running. So we're going to cut all that work I've just done, we're going to cut it off and just use some fuel line. So in here we've got some brand new braided fuel line, and to connect the fuel line, this is what I would use. These are called a double ear clamp, and that would just go on there and it will go straight onto the metal fuel lines I've just bought. But the lad who's buying it doesn't want these using. So I've ordered a full pack of Jubilee clips. This is what the lad wants the fuel lines putting on with, so that's what we're going to use. So let's undo all these fuel lines that I've just made, and we'll try and get the car running the best we can for the lad to pick it up. Like I say, I've got about a week. And to remove the fuel lines, what I've just spent all that time making, I'm just going to get a Stanley knife and cut the fuel line down the middle so it pulls off the fuel rail. Right, so let's put that Jubilee clip on. Then we'll put the fuel hose on the fuel rail. and we'll tighten that Jubilee clip up. And to tighten it up, I'm going to use a proper socket, not a screwdriver, because I don't want to knock the end of the Jubilee clip. Like that. And that is stuck on there good and tight. We can then route it and clip it into these fittings. Right, so that's the fuel system wired up. We've got it on there that goes along down to the high pressure line, and we've got it here on the fuel pressure regulator, and we've also got the fuel pressure regulator wired up and plumbed in. Now I am going to go on the record here, and the lad that's buying it has said basically he only wants it running to get it on and off the trailer. So that's all I'm doing. It's not, this isn't like a, well, it's a reliable fix, but it's not a long-term fix. This is purely to get the car on and off the trailer. So let's now move back to the fuel tank end of the car. Right, so next at the back of the car, we need to get the fuel out the fuel tank. And on the tank, this is the high pressure fuel out, and this is the fuel return. So we're going to start on the high pressure fuel out. And to do that, we need a bit of hose that goes from the tank to this fuel filter. This is the fuel filter I fitted on the car a couple of months ago. When I got the car, I changed the fuel filter, and this is pretty much a brand new fuel filter, but we're not going to use it. I've got a new one to go on, so we'll take this one out the bracket. Then we've got a brand new Bosch one ready to go on, so we'll slide it in the bracket. And you can see it's got arrows with that, and you can see it's got arrows to tell you which way the fuel goes. So your fuel is going to come out the tank in this way from the pump, then goes out this end to the engine. So we'll put this like that, and we'll nip that screw up, and I'm just going to quickly bolt this to the underside of the car. And the fuel filter is held in place by one M8 13mm bolt, and you can see it tucks up on the floor under the rear seat. So now let's make the high pressure fuel line that goes from the fuel pump to the fuel filter, which is just over there under the car. And to do that, we've got a selection of bits and pieces. We've got some banjo fittings and an aero equip fitting which will go directly to the fuel tank. So first let's put that Jubilee clip on there, then we'll fit the aero equip fitting onto that hose. Oh, that's tight. So we'll just push that onto there as far as we can, like that. Then we'll put that Jubilee clip up, and we're going to nip it up with a proper socket, not a screwdriver, so like I say, we don't damage the screw on the end. Like I say, fellas, this isn't the way I would do it normally with these Jubilee clips. This is the way the lad who's buying the car wants it doing. There we go, that's nice and tight on there. Then we'll connect that hose what we've just made onto the fuel pump. And we'll just nip it up with this spanner. It's an aluminium fitting, so we can't go too tight or we'll just strip the threads. Then the fuel return here, which obviously is the return from the engine, we're just going to put the pipe straight on with a Jubilee clip. That's everything wired up, plumbed in nice and tight, so we can now fit the fuel tank on the car. And the fuel tank's just held in place with two straps. Each strap has got an M10 bolt on the end. Then the fuel filler goes into the fuel filler neck, what we welded up a few videos ago. So with the little screw holding the fuel filler neck in place, let's now try the fuel filler cap and make sure it all goes together. That's that job done, fellas. So with the fuel system now all plumbed in on the car, before I'm even going to try and start it, I'm going to put the exhaust on. There's two parts. This is the centre section. Before we put the exhaust on, I've got a brand new exhaust clamp here, so we're going to put that over there, like that. Then we'll jump under the car and get the exhaust hanging in place, but we're not tightening anything up just yet. We're going to leave it all loose. Now with the centre section fitted, let's now fit the back box. Now listen fellas, I'm gutted to be saying this, I'm gutted the car's sold, but I really wanted to clean all the exhaust up, maybe even buy a new one, or at least just even polish it up. You see where, I don't know, like it's got a black ring round it. You see it's all worn off. I would like to have repainted that and just made it look all nice and pretty, but unfortunately it's going to have to go back on the way it is. Like I say, the fella who's buying it just wants it at least rolling to get on a truck. If I can get it running, even better. So let's get the back box on the car. And just like the centre section, we're going to put a new exhaust clamp. I'll have to slacken that off a bit. You see how it works, the exhaust clamp there. As you clamp this screw, it pulls that in, like that, clamps it up. Do you know what I mean? As that screw goes in, it clamps that up. So we'll just slacken it off, then we'll put it over the back box. Then we'll get the back box on the car. So it goes on like that. And something I do to get exhaust rubbers on, which I find helps, is I put a little bit of WD-40 type stuff in the hanger, and you'll find it'll just push on a lot easier. With the exhaust in place, we can then fit the body coloured rear bumper. Now this is unique to an Escort Cosworth, this rear bumper, and it's held in place with 4 13mm nuts that are inside the boot. Then with the bumper fitted, we're going to fit this rear reg plate light. So we've got 2 wires that are just going to pop into there, one there, one there. Then that'll just pop in the bumper like that. Now with the rear bumper fitted, we can then tighten up the exhaust. So we're going to start at the front and we're going to do up the clamp with a 13mm socket. We're not going to go mega tight with it, fellas, just tight enough that the exhaust doesn't fall off. And to be honest, this car was running without these exhaust clamps the full time I've had it from buying it. So the exhaust isn't going to come off even if these are loose, which we're not leaving them loose. So this is the moment I've been waiting for, fellas. Let's get the petrol station, we'll get some petrol and we're going to put it in the car and fingers crossed it starts. We'll put the petrol in, and as it's going in, I'm going to look under the car for leaks. The tank on the car is like a 50 litre tank and we're putting 10 litres of fuel in, so we should get just under a quarter of a tank of the 2 jerry cans. So let's turn the ignition on. The fuel pump will then pressurise the full system to about 3.5-4 bar, and we'll check for any leaks. And guess what, fellas? It started first time, absolutely buzzing. Now you might think this sounds a bit rattly. We've got to remember all the lifters in the engine, the hydraulic lifters, have all drained with oil, so it's going to build oil pressure and it quietens down. Now it does sound a lot more rattly on this video than it does in real life, but trust us, the engine is spot on and I am over the moon. There's no fuel leaks, so now we've got the engine running and I'm over the moon about that. We're now going to bleed the brakes. To bleed the brakes, we're going to use a special bottle that will pump up and it puts air in the system and it literally just blows the brake fluid through all the lines and out the bleed nipples. And this here is the bottle. So what you do is you pump it up like that, it gets some pressure in and it blows the air through. So we're going to put some brake fluid in here. I've got a full thing of brake fluid here, brand new. Right, that should be enough. So we'll put the lid back on. We'll nip it up with this spanner. On the brake reservoir, we'll take the cap off. Let the stuff drain out. Right, then we'll put this cap on. Then on this bottle, we'll connect this end to the brake reservoir. Then we'll pump the bottle up, put some pressure in the system. We've got 10 psi in there, so enough I hope to do the job. We're also going to put the ignition on so the brake reservoir's got power going to it and it is fully primed. Right, so we'll take this cover off the bleed nipple, put our spanner on. And with this system you don't need to pump the brake pedal like you had to in the olden days. Literally just put that bottle on. This will collect all the brake fluid what we're not using. Then if we crack this, there's the brake fluid coming down the hose. Then that's the driver's side rear brake caliper blade. So we'll jump over, we'll do the passenger side, and it's exactly the same process. Super simple, fellas, easy job. Once that's done, we can get the wheels on. Now these tyres have done about 30 miles, they've been nowhere really. But how nice do these wheels look with them tyres? Once the wheels are on, we can get the car back on the floor. Unbelievable, it's been up in the air for about 6 months. So once it's on the floor, back first, then the front, we'll check it still starts. So the car is back on the floor. This is such a sad but happy time for me. Like, I'm happy I've got the car back on the floor, back running, but I'm sad because it is where it is sold. So let's move it for the first time ever since I've put it back on the floor. I mean, it's moving. It's a good start. Try not to scratch it. Right, I'm going to pull it outside and I'm going to give it a good clean because it's absolutely minging with dust and dirt.
I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you. I believe in miracles. Since you came along, you sexy thing.
Right, that's it fellas, I've managed to get the Escort back running and driving, so unfortunately it's going to be going. Now if you'd have told me 5 years ago I would own an Escort Cosworth while still having me 3-door, I would never have believed you. And if you'd have told us 5 months ago, just after I bought the Escort, I'd be selling it now, I wouldn't have believed you. So listen, you don't know what life's going to throw at you. I don't know what the moral of the story of this is, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to stick around and see what I get up to. But yeah, again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Cheers.